Okay. Okay. Smooth. Okay. Okay, cool. I think everything is set up. I've got the chat here. Okay, cool. Okay. All right, I think we're ready to get started. And I've just got music on repeat. Yeah, okay, cool. And then I'm going to start the recording, and then we'll get started. Hey, everybody. Okay, so thank you for coming back if you're tuning in. And just know that this will also be on YouTube, so if you need to disappear at sort of any given time, or you get bored or you want to try coming back later, it's no problem at all. This is all going to be online. But the nice thing about having you stick around, hey Nick, the nice thing about having you stick around is that you can ask questions, and I will interact with you as I am working on this. So this is actually very helpful for me. I'm going to be using this to help me develop a course related to Vue, but in the meantime, I'm also using this to teach you. So whatever gaps in your knowledge may be, or curiosity or question that arises, just ask. I will be checking the chat on my phone, so we'll have a near real-time interaction. But yeah, okay, so here's the point of this one. So I've got some notes here. Basically, we're going to be focusing on Vue. Now, I've taught Vue a couple of times so far, but here we're going to go and build on our knowledge. So we are going to be starting from scratch. By end of this, my hope is that we can make a sort of a simple one-page application that is basically a very simple search engine. So the hope is that I'll be able to type into a field, I'll get some data relevant to my query, and then we'll see how sort of fancy we can make this. I have a lot of ideas for what we can do, so it just really depends on the speed at which we go. But don't let that stop you from asking any questions that you might have. Okay, so let me just introduce you to Vue formally real quick, and then I'll talk about what we can do with it. So Vue is VUE, and the project is called Vue JS. So Vue is kind of like a modern jQuery, but it's a bit more advanced than that. So like, if you've ever used jQuery or you've heard of jQuery, it's one of the, I think it's the most popular JavaScript library or framework, I don't know which one it is, that originated in 2006 or so, and it sort of took the web by storm. So if you've used jQuery, you probably understand the paradigm that your website is effectively displaying data. And you use jQuery to query the data, right? JavaScript query, right? So jQuery. So you're querying the data. But the thing is, your website is storing the data, which means that you have to deal with the HTML. You have to deal with the syntax. And so instead of just like reaching in and grabbing the data, sometimes you have to like go to this tag, and then you got to go to this tag, and eventually it's sort of like a spider's web. So there's a new paradigm that's pretty hot right now, and that paradigm is called a virtual DOM, Virtual Document Object Model. So DOM is for Document Object Model. So what is a what is a DOM? DOM is basically the data structure of our website. So if I open up a website and I go to inspect, this is the DOM. It's the Document Object Model of a website. So a virtual DOM is where I basically take just the data and not all the sort of like cluttered HTML that you see here. And I store the data in a data structure independent from the actual state of the website. And basically these frameworks like Angular, React, all of them more or less are sort of focusing on this new paradigm, which is called a reactive DOM or a virtual DOM, which means you have the data, which is sort of arbitrary, and you inject it into the HTML. But the thing about it is that because websites can get slow, they're very optimized for only updating and injecting where necessary. So like instead of refreshing your entire website, if one little piece of data changes, like a string, like if I say like, this is the title of my website, if that changes for some reason, I don't want to update the whole website, I just want to update that element. And so not only are these like the virtual DOM and the reactivity and blah, 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 the point is that they're efficient, which they have to be because we don't necessarily know which device our website is going to be on, right? So Nick said the DOM is like a skeleton, and yeah, that's exactly how you can think about it. It's a really good metaphor, actually. So, right, like the DOM is the simplest way to understand your website, but the thing is, it's still cluttered, right? Like you just want the data. You don't care about the tags or the classes or the attributes, which is all, like this is 99% stuff you don't really care about. Because what you really care about is the data that it's storing, right? So that's sort of the point. Okay, so hopefully you're a little bit more comfortable with the idea of Vue because it's an effective, efficient way to build websites. And it doesn't matter if these websites are interactive or not. You can use Vue to more efficiently compose a static website. There's nothing about this that needs to be a web application. It's just that the sort of, what would you say, the catalyst for all these frameworks and libraries is in the mobile modern age that we're living in. We need the ability, if we want to build not just websites more efficiently, but actually interactive web applications, which I think are starting to replace like native applications on your phone. If you think about it, if I need to open the App Store, like set my country, make sure I have like a card on file, download some like arbitrarily sized application. Sometimes they're as small as like 5 megabytes, but sometimes on the App Store, applications are like 100 megabytes. That's a really unpleasant experience versus just going to a website and having the expectation that this website, if it's like well designed, she'll load in like a couple of seconds, not, all these barriers to entry. So Vue is sort of a replacement in a way for native applications. And because native applications can have websites inside of them, you can use Vue, in theory, in native applications. But I don't know too much about that. The point is, whether you're building like an app as a website or you want to embed a website into an app, both should be fine. Okay, so if we don't have any questions, I'll just get right into the code. If we do have questions, let me know. I wanted to take a second because I believe Anna's here. Okay, so this is like the simplest thing. It's kind of like a hello world. This is one of the simplest things that we can do with Vue. And this is sort of an okay, so 1 second. I've got a question. What do we think about progressive web applications? The thing is, like, there's too many acronyms to me, to be honest. You have single page application, you have DOM for DOM, you have there's like tons of these, right? And I've used a few of them, so I'm a bit guilty. PWA is for Progressive Web Application. And all that means is that your web, like a better word for this might be evergreen. So like if you ever go to what is it, like caniuse.com? Caniuse is a website that shows you which browsers support which features. So like let's say Flexbox, right? The thing is, the browsers that are the most likely to support the feature that you want, these are called Evergreen browsers, because they're auto-updating, which is like the right sort of situation. You want the software that is serving your application to be updating so that you don't have to worry as much whether you're like on Internet Explorer 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever, right? So a progressive web application is just sort of like a fancy way to say that the web is getting better and your app is also incrementally getting better over time. But the thing is, like, you don't write your website over the course of a few years. You write it and then you might update it over the course of a few years. So that's maybe how you can think about a progressive web application. You like build a thing, and as website manufacturers build better browsers, you can progressively update them. Right, so Free Code Camp's forum is available as a... Oh, yeah, so... Sorry, I might have been answering this from the wrong perspective. You can also cache a website on your phone, which means, like, this is the whole service workers thing that I don't know too much about it. But the point is, like, if you stop thinking about a website as a website and you think about it as an app, it's a bit more interesting because sometimes the apps on your phone update, sometimes you have to go tell the App Store to go update them for you. If it's a website, you don't have to do much. You just you put it on your device, and then as the website updates, so will the version of it on your phone. So the thing, like, progressive web application is just like, it's personally, it's like sort of a meaningless expression because all websites in a way are progressive if they're being updated. So like, it's kind of jargon to me, but it's good to know that like the rate at which browsers get better, the rate at which different like JavaScript libraries become available. The point is, like, the web is a fast-moving world, and so we need to be adaptive sort of about how we build things. Okay, so let's get into this. So this is sort of the simplest thing that you might build. And this is sort of an arbitrary example, but I want to highlight it because it's simple enough that I think just showing you will give you sort of a clear understanding of how and where we would use Vue generally. Okay, so I believe this is the source. Okay, so all we have is my doc type. I've got my head tag. If I'm using emoji, if I'm using emoji, it's a good idea to tell the browser explicitly that I'm using the character set Unicode, right? Because if we don't, let's see what happens. I think I'll get some weird side effects. So it's fine in... Oh, wait, is it? Whoops. It's fine in Chrome, but I believe in Safari not having metacarset. Yeah. So, dear Anna, if you're watching this, this is what the tiger emoji looks like if you don't set the metacarset. So this is why this line is actually pretty important. Because the browsers, unless you tell them to, will choose the character encoding for you, which is like not ideal. This line is really simple. This is just basically, this is a very simple CSS reset. So this just makes sure that, like, actually, you know what? I don't need this if I have that. It just means that our CSS isn't going to be like super weird. Another thing you can do is if we don't have doc type at the top, we can also get some weird sort of side effects because omitting it means that our browser doesn't necessarily know if we want to use HTML5. So the combination of a doc type and any sort of CSS reset is powerful because it means that you can have sort of consistent aesthetics in your website. Right. Okay, so I've got some CSS variables to initialize some colors. These are like Twitter's colors. I've got some utility classes. These you don't necessarily need to understand. The point is I'm using them where I need to. So like I have a center class or I have a grid class, and I can just like put the class in my website if I need to do something. So this sort of style of writing your website is called utility classes. I call it functional classes because like in programming, you have imperative and functional programming. Imperative means that you are concerned with the way that something gets done. Like if I open up Google Maps on my phone and I just say, go from here to here, that's like functional because I don't care how I get there. I just care that I get there. But if I'm being imperative, I'm saying like, okay, I need to go this way and then I need to go there. And so like C programming is like a good example of imperative programming where I care about all the things that need to get done and how they get done in order to achieve a task. Now, if I'm using a programming language that has a very strong standard library and I don't care about how some function is working internally, that's more functional. So this is sort of like a functional approach to CSS where I don't need to make a custom class for like everything I'm doing. I'm just using these sort of composable, reusable classes instead. And personally, that's like much more enjoyable for me because I can just sort of associate the design of my website. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this is like the simplest, sort of useless, but simplest Vue application you might see. So think about it like this. Our app is starting here, which means that our entire website is not an app. It's like a thing inside of our website. So our website is hosting an app. So we make that explicit by having an ID called app. And then once we insert the view into our website, then we can start to use it. So I'm basically initializing an instance of Vue, and in it, I'm giving it options. So the things on the left here, this is EL for element, and then I need to specify where I'm hooking in my view to my website. Then after that, I need to make sure I have a comma. I have an object called data. And again, I'm not choosing the name of data, but I am choosing the stuff that goes inside of it. So data is the data of my application, right? So in this application, the simplest application ever, right? We just have one piece of data. And hey, Annie, thank you for joining us. I hope I'm saying that right. So I have emoji right here, and to hook in my emoji to our website, which is really, really simple, basically I need to I'm like making a variable, right? So this is very, very, very similar to doing like a var emoji equals the emoji itself, right? So this is now data in my application. And all I need to do is anywhere use this sort of syntax this is like Angular syntax, is to sort of tell my view data to insert this piece of data right into my browser, right? So, or my website. So like the thing is like this is a bit obscure because there's no reason that I couldn't just do that. But the thing is, if I start doing something a bit more advanced, this is a good example of that. This is very similar to the last one I just showed you, except that we have all these different emojis, and if I wanted to change, like right here, like instead of using, let's say, the woman astronaut, if I wanted to change to the woman raising her hand instead, because this is just data, all I need to do is here, let me make this bigger. All I would need to do is get my global variable for, like, this would be moms who code, or no, moms can code. If I just change that one piece of data, this entire website would regenerate. And so this is significant because I'm basically being sort of like as lazy as possible. I have my data somewhere, I'm plugging into my data, and then I can use views, these are called directives. I have like a for loop basically. This is a for loop here. I'm basically iterating over every single grid cell that I want and then sort of styling it randomly. So Vue is like really, really fun, not just for, again, not for interactive websites, just for like building websites. So when I think about like what is my stack, right? Like what's my technology stack? I don't think about Vue as separate from HTML and CSS. I think about Vue as almost a replacement for them because I can write HTML and CSS much more sort of like programmatically semantically and logically than I could ever do with just naked HTML and CSS. And the other really nice thing about using something like Vue is because the design of Vue is very structured. There's sort of rules for how I should compose my application. And this is called being idiomatic. The fact that Vue is an idiomatic way to write JavaScript means that JavaScript itself is less painful. I don't have to deal with like coming up with every decision myself. I can just lean on Vue to help me make some of these decisions for me. Okay, so these are some sort of simple and fun experiments, but now I'll take any questions if we have any. We can start to think about building something from scratch. And disclaimer, I don't really know how far or if what we'll make will work. So for me, this is a good kind of stress where I'm being put on the spot, I'm answering questions, and I'm trying to facilitate my own personal education of Vue, really sort of like out in the open, because that sort of anxiety makes it much better for me in terms of like remembering it, make sure I actually understand it. It's definitely better than doing this in isolation. So, okay, I'm going to put this back. And just for what it's worth, I just want to show you. So that art that I've generated using Vue, it's now powering the header for the bot, 100 Days of Code, Women Who Code, and Moms Can Code. So like in this example where we're building this thing, but it's not really a web app and it's not really a website, it's just art. Vue is still like, it's like a paintbrush. It's a way to get something done and a way to do it productively. Now, in case there are other ways that you might generate art on the web. A good example of this is CSS Doodle, which I haven't learned yet. But this isn't the only way to like do stuff. This is an example of a more efficient way that you can generate art on the web. But I think that doing it in Vue is highly educational for understanding Vue as an ecosystem. Okay, so now we've got sort of the intro things out of the way. Let's build something. Okay, so I can close most of this stuff. I've got some notes, and let's just get started. Just checking my notes. Okay, let's go ahead and make a list. Okay, so we'll do this. This is too much stuff. Let's do a here reviews too. So we're doing this from scratch. Okay, so we're going to copy a few aspects, just like this stuff. So we're starting off a new web page, and inside of it, I've just got a CSS Reset. It could be a different one. I just like this one. I've got a style tag, which is empty. Style. If you guys have questions, go ahead and ask. Okay, and then just open up our body. Okay, so this isn't a Vue application yet. This is just a terrible website. So what we need to do is supercharge our website by loading Vue. Okay, so what we can do is just very simple. Sorry, I don't know what happened. Just grabbing a script tag and inserting it right there. Okay. So this should be pretty comfortable, right? Like nothing in here sort of stands out. Now, I should do one more thing. I need to make a place for our application to start. So I have here, this is div id app, and then in here, do use strict, which is optional, but this will allow you to have some more JavaScript warnings in case something is like going wrong. It makes JavaScript a little bit more pedantic. I got a question. What is the mini reset CSS? Okay, so let me just open it. Because it's mini, it's few enough in terms of lines of code that it's not that intimidating. Okay, so, oops, it's like 100 lines. Yeah, shorter than that. Basically, the browser will set some styles for you, which can be counterintuitive because you think you're starting with a blank slate, but instead you're starting with like a plate that has like lots of like little things that you don't really know if you want them or not. So what a CSS reset does is it resets the CSS that's given to you. So like you don't really need to understand what each line of code is doing per se, other than to understand that this is making it's making CSS a bit sort of like safer and clearer. It's not the same, but it's a little similar to using ustrict. It's giving you a more like, you're not going to get as many unexpected side effects. So it's like a way to sort of clean or sterilize your CSS before you get started. This one is called Mini Reset CSS, and it was made by the same guy who made Bulma. So if you like Bulma, you'll like this, and here it is. Yeah. Now, just real cool tip, Bulma uses Mini Reset CSS under the hood, which I think is pretty interesting. So if I go to Bulma GitHub and I like look inside of the source code, I can find somewhere, I think it's in Sass, base, Mini, yeah, so Bulma's built on top of Mini Reset, which I think is cool. Okay, cool. And then let's open this up. So where am I on my computer? We are inside of Vue. Okay. And then open reviews 2. Okay, so here is our terrible website. Okay. Okay, so now we can do const app equals new view. So this is how I'm instantiating a new view. And then this is where I put the options for Vue. And so the options are optional, of course, but the ones that we probably want or need is EL for element, like I showed you just a few minutes ago, where we're hooking into the app. And just so you know, you could do like document, query, whatever, because it is just JavaScript, but that is a shortcut. And we have some data, and then we'll put in a list. So like, let's do a list of the people that are watching. Okay, so we'll do like watchers. And then, okay, so I'm like a little uncomfortable with JavaScript. Let's think about how this. If we want an array to iterate over, just do an array of strings. So we should be fine doing that. And then let's get everyone in here, or who I think is in here. So like, I'll put myself, and we'll put some other people. Do Zadok, G. Let's do Ini. Oops. Nick. If I'm missing you, go ahead and type it in the chat, and I'll just add you. Who else? Anna? Oops. I'll put some more. Let's do like Herza. I don't know how to spell Yenchen. I don't know how to spell that. Who else? Anyone else? A couple of people. Yeah, Joe. That's fine for now. Anyway, just type it in chat if you want to be in this list. And then what we can do is, because JavaScript is so pedantic, before we go and just start building everything, we can go in the console and just check that our data types check out. So like what I can do is say var watchers is equal to an array, this array, and make sure that I don't get any sort of warning. Okay, so that's fine, right? And I do like watcher, let's make that streamers. And then there is our data, so that's fine. Okay, and then we'll do streamer, oops. Streamers. Okay, so here, let's make this full screen, which we have to still make. And then inside of our full screen app, let's make a group. So we'll put everything inside of the div. And then, actually, I can just make this main, which feels, this is like, oh, it was app. This is equivalent. This is just more semantic. So inside of our app, oh, I keep doing this class. And then let's center it. Inside of it, I'm going to have a list. And then we'll do like unordered list. So once I do that, I have my list, oops, my list items. Okay, so before I start using Vue, let's build our auxiliary CSS classes, and then we should be good to go. So all I need to do is, we know our app is going to occupy the full screen. So what I can do is say full screen, and then I want another class called center. Now I've already used these a lot, so I'm just going to copy them, but they are just like 1 or 2 lines each. So I have center, and I have, that's good enough. Okay, so here we go. Oops. And I'll just explain this real quick. Okay, cool. So full screen is a auxiliary or a utility class that we can use to force whatever element we attach it to have a full width and a full height. Percent is probably fine here as a unit, but I have better luck with viewports. So this is the view width, and then this is the view height. What do we create? So far, Nick, all we're creating, we haven't like made anything significant. All we're going to make is a list of the people who are watching this, because we're going to try to build a web application for like looking up movies and then like filtering movies based on their name or the actors inside of them. I don't really know how far we're going to get, but I'm going to be a bit ambitious here. So we're just going to start with a list. I should have said this. We're going to start with like a list of people. We're going to sort of figure out how do we do lists and how do we do some fancy things with lists. And then after that, we'll sort of like make a fake API that we can display the list and try filtering it. So this is related to, Anna was talking about like APIs and search bars, and this is sort of like related to all of that. Actually, there is a tweet that I meant to share. I'll put this in the chat. The inspiration, thank you for saying that actually. The inspiration for all of this is in a tweet that I'll put into the chat, but basically it's like a very simple web app to search for movies, TV shows, or whatever based on not just like the reviews or the box office value, but sort of some more rich information. So I'll share this tweet if you guys want to check it out. And then there it is. Put that there. And then that should be in the chat, I guess. Okay, cool. Okay. Okay, just a sec. I'm going to do one thing. Okay, cool, okay. So here we are, and we're good. So, okay, now let's make sure our app looks good, right? So we have full screen, we have center, we have a div, and I think that's good. Let's just put some data. Now, the thing is, because of our CSS reset, our unordered list should be easier to work with. If we get rid of this, our unordered list or a list might look a little weird. So this is actually pretty important for what we're working on. Okay, let's check it out. Cool, we have a list, dead center, and what we can do is I just want everything to be inside of a box for now. So actually we'll make it a rectangle. So we'll do a rectangle, and we'll make it an auxiliary class, and I want the width to be 512 and the height to be like 1024. Oops. Let's call that size. And then I want to make our div here use that. Okay, so in theory, yeah, it's a bit too tall actually. So what we can do is, if we don't want to ignore height, but I think I can say, oh, you know what? I can just say, let's make this like, let's make a mobile class. We'll just leave it as that. And then we'll do this. And if we want to, what we should do is make a full height and a full width class that are separate so we can use them interchangeably. So I'll grab those here, right? So full height, full width. So this is more flexible. So here are those two, and the mobile element, I do want this one to have a full height. So now that is fine. It's just at the top, and I'll just put some padding for now. Is it padding or margin? Probably padding is fine. We do like 3 rem, and there it is. And then let's set a style for everything. Like I want a default font. I'm gonna open up the root, and then I'll do fonts, and I'll say we're gonna leave the font size, and I'll do like Blink Mac System font, or Apple System, or sans serif. And then this is going to be basically the default Mac font. That's what Blink Mac System font is. It's just for Chrome. This, I think, should be fine. Yeah, okay, cool, that's good. And then I can always bump this up to make it bigger. Okay, so in our debugger, let me turn on the chat. Okay, cool. I don't know how far we're gonna get, but I'd like to try. We're gonna make like a fake crawler, and then if we can, we'll try to make a real crawler. I don't know. We'll see. This is new for me, so we'll see. But the thing is, like, it's fundamentally simple if you understand the concepts, and so this is going to be more emphasized on the concepts. Okay, so here's our app, and now instead of having like blatant hello, which is pretty boring, what I want to do is use Vue to generate a list item for each one of our streamers. So I think what we can do is use v-for, which is the Vue directive for like a for loop. And then I want to say like for streamer, so each person individually is a streamer. For streamer in streamers, then the data is going to be streamer, right? So I keep hearing this. This is apparently like how Angular works. So a lot of sort of copying and stuff between different ones. Okay, yeah, it is awesome, isn't it? So this is simple, right? Couple lines, and let's see what happens. All right, so now we have our list, which is cool. But like let's like take another step. Let's say like I want to bind 2 data points, not just one. So like right now I have a string. What I'd like to do is have a string and emoji each, which I don't really know how to do that because I want to have both, right? Like ideally I want to have like streamer like emoji and then streamer name second, which I think means that streamer needs to be its own object, which has its own values. Okay, so I'm just going to wing it. I don't know that this will work. I'm sort of learning JavaScript with you guys. Okay, so we're going to just grab these. What are those CSS declarations like this? Oh, something. Yeah, okay, so the question was, just real quick, the question was, if you're in CSS, I don't think I have it, yeah, but sometimes you're going to see this, like WebKit, something, name, value, right? And so the question is, what the heck is this? Well, the thing on this side is just a property. So, oops, let me put this like in here. Blah, 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 blah. Right, so this is just a property like anything else. But because browsers are experimenting with different features, or sometimes browsers are sort of going faster than other browsers and they want to try a feature before everyone else has it, you can use browser prefixes, which I think look like that, to sort of use a special property which will only work in specific browsers. So like there's WebKit, there's like 4 big ones. There's WebKit, which is, I'm trying to think. Basically, they're called browser prefixes. And I just want to show you what they, yeah, so here they are. Yeah, so sometimes different browsers share the same ones. But yeah, so you have like WebKit, Moz for Firefox, Internet Explorer, iOS, and so the thing is like this gets quite cluttered over time. But there's actually Vue, if you write your CSS in Vue in a specific way, it will do this for you. So Vue is like very intelligent at making like building web stuff like less painful, because I mean, how annoying is it that I would need to like repeat the same thing 5 times just because there's different browsers, even though it's the same website. So if we put our CSS in our Vue, I believe, like if I put CSS down here, I believe that Vue will go ahead and do this step for us, which means our website should look more consistent. So those are called vendor prefixes. And I think, do they have, let me just check one thing. Is it 1 dash or 2 dashes? Yeah, so they have 1 dash. But CSS variables have 2 dashes because CSS variables look very similar. So, okay, so here we are. Here's our list, and I want each one of our streamers to have its own emoji and its own name. So like, let's make a simplified version. Okay, so let's try a simple example first. Okay, let's just say this is an object now, and then in the object I should have 2 values, which are my name, and I'll put my emoji first. Okay, and then I'm going to reserve the octopus emoji before anyone else gets it. This is mine. Back off. And then my name, I'll do Zadik like that. Okay. Let's see how that works. Okay, so I don't get anything, and this is like a good clue that the compiler, or that the browser is trying to tell me something that I'm ignoring. So if I go to console, it's saying, hey, I didn't expect a colon on this line, right? So why not? If I have an array, let's get rid of this thing for now. So I need to make sure that this works at all. Put this here. So I have one piece of data, and it's an object called Zadik that has its own emoji and its name. Okay, and then instead of doing a list now, I want a cool, it is a cool emoji. I want to have just one list item, and I'm just going to grab Zadik now. So this is going to be even simpler. Whoops. Okay, let's see what happens. No. We're referring to streamer. Actually, that's fine. Let's just make this streamer. That makes more sense. Dr. Octopus. Okay, so let's see. Method is not defined during the render. Please make sure that this is reactive. So I'm probably just oh yeah. Hang on. No. Streamer's not defined. Streamer's right here. And okay, let's do this like logically. Is this a valid data type? If I did like an object called var streamer equals an object with 2 values. No, it's not, because unexpected identifier. So, oh, you know what? Does this need to be a string? Let's try that. No. Wait. Var is capitalized. That's probably why. Var lowercase streamer equals object. Okay, so that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And then here, I don't see an issue with this, but I'm not that good at JavaScript anyway. Cannot read property name of undefined. Let's try this. Okay, let's be smart. So is this valid by itself? Var streamer equals an object. Oh, so now it's a map. Because then I would say streamer, but I want to do emoji. That wouldn't make sense. Because I would have to access it like this now, because this is a string. No? Oh, steamer, not streamer. Okay, so that worked. Now, if I don't put the quotes, I believe this is more like a struct, which makes it more predictable. So, okay, let's try streamer emoji. and that worked. So that's fine. Streamer is, okay, so we can get rid of this. We know that's an issue. And I think that's right. Property emoji. Hey, Justine. You didn't miss much. We're using Vue to make basically a list, and instead of typing HTML for every list item, we just want to run through it using Vue's for loop, or the Vue's directive for for loops. So I am just going through some JavaScript anxiety. Oh, wait a minute, I think I know what the issue is. Wait, that's not a legal expression. Oh my god. So it wasn't the JavaScript, the object was fine. It was the fact that in this environment, the comma didn't make any sense. So, okay, so if I wanted to have two values here, which we do, if I put a comma between them, and if you, oh, by the way, Justine, if you have any questions whatsoever, just interrupt me, because this is going to be on YouTube for other people. So the more sort of questions that I'm not ignoring, the better it is for you and other people. So don't like be shy whatsoever. Okay, so let's see what happens. So I've got one thing, and then, so I think what's happening is that this is just getting ignored. So I think what we can do is just put this in a separate one, which kind of seems wrong. So streamer.name, I think that's fine. Yeah, okay, so now this is just one string, but we're accessing them like that. Okay, cool. So let's go back to here, because now we have it, like, we're being like scientific about this, like Anna would be. We know how to put an array, we know how to put an object, and now we're going to make an array of objects. Okay, and then we'll add Justine to the streamers, and if she has dogs, she can put the names of her dogs, and I'll add those too. Okay, so streamers would be an array. Can I just do like, I want to do like an array of objects, and I wonder if they have to have a name. So like, can I do like var objects equals an array of like anonymous objects? Does that work? I don't know. Yeah, that worked. But then how do I access them? Oh, I'd access them by index, right? Yeah, so then I would do like, okay, so let's do like Anna as, so we have an array of anonymous objects, anonymous meaning that I don't have like a key, whoops, over here, it's just anonymous. So Anna, and would be the name, and then she needs her own emoji to express her individuality, which is a tiger. All right, we're gonna add the dogs after this, and they'll have their own. You'll have to describe the dogs so I can put them in. Okay, so let's make sure this works. I have an array of anonymous objects. The keys are emoji and name, which means in theory, now I can do objects, the index of 0, and the name. Cool. So that worked, right? So this gave us good results. Then we do the objects at the 0th index and the emoji. Okay, so now we know what we're doing. We're not shooting ourselves in the foot. So we weren't far off. Okay, cool. By the way, Justine, are you familiar at all with Vue, or do you need like a 10-second, like just to show you what's going on? So let's do like this. Okay, cool. This is actually really, really concise. Hey, thanks for joining us, man. I don't think this will ever be as cool as CSS Doodle, but I have to try, right? Okay, so I'm just going to add, do you guys, okay, cool, so real quick, Vue is inserting some JavaScript to make writing our application, whether it's a static website or if it's a dynamic website, very intuitive. So instead of like having to type 20 list items for every streamer's name and then their emoji, and then if something changes, it gets all crazy, I'd rather think about designing my website very programmatically. right? So like I'm going to do for loops and I might do an if statement. I can do that sort of stuff in HTML even if I'm not building an interactive website, it's just a static website, by using a framework like Vue. And I really like Vue because there's no build process. I don't need to download like some command line tool and an NPM or Yarn or any of that. I can instead just hook into it with one line of code. And then here is where I'm sort of instantiating my application. And so our application has no functionality right now, but it does have data. And so we're filling that in now. If you guys don't mind, can you just put your emojis in the chat? Because that'd be much faster than me sort of having to like come up with a unique emoji for each of you. So just like put that in there. I'll put the names in for now. Chuan, I'll do your first name. I think that's your first name. Sadek, Nick. This is so fun. I can like use the streamers as my data. Okay. I'll put Mochi. I'm forgetting people. Any? Yeah. Anyone? Okay, we'll put Herza in here and Joe. Oh, let me put Jots too. Herza. If you're also watching, you can tell me now. Okay, so Nick is... Where's Nick? Nick's here. So Nick's a robot. Okay. Octopus. Oh, I almost forgot her dogs. I need to put that in too. So I'm forgetting Justine then. We'll put Justine's dogs just beneath here, right? Okay, do like this. Justine is a pineapple. Okay, and then her dogs are Charlie and Franco. Charlie, oops, Franco. So just make these two dogs. I'm gonna assume your dogs look like this because all dogs look like, whoops, okay, that's nice. That's fine. And then I think we'll, okay, let's just put like a few more. Chuan is like something blue. I keep seeing blue things. We'll put a butterfly. And Innie is something pink. We'll do. Let's do a flower. Let's do this flower. Herza and Giots. Okay, so let's do like a flower and put this one. Okay, cool. So I'm assuming I've got, oh, I have to put one more, hang on, I have to put Joe in here. Oops. Anyway, if you are watching this in the replay, whoops, this is one of the nice things about watching during the live stream is because then you can like ask questions, interact, and so on. That's not, I want the rocket. Okay. This is by far the most important thing that we're going to do today. Joe. And then almost forgot this one. Okay. And then let's do, is it Mochi? Okay. Okay, cool. So I think we're set, right? Now I need to be careful. The last one in an array can't have the comma or it will break everything. Go is smart enough to recognize that's insane. So in Go, you don't get these weird sort of fastidious errors. Go is much more safe. JavaScript is much more reckless, and so we need to be very, very careful and use the scientific method here, actually. Like you can't write JavaScript without the scientific method. So think of it this way, like if you write JavaScript, you have to be a scientist. You just have to. Okay, so let's see. So now all we need to do is we need to iterate. So let's go back to our first logic right here. I want to say we want to iterate over each of our streamers. So we're coming up with the name streamer ourselves. It doesn't exist in our data. And then for each streamer in our streamers, we want to access first the emoji and the streamer's name. And then this will go into one string. So you can imagine like this whole thing will evaluate to just like emoji name right next to each other. Okay. I think we're good. Okay, let's try this. So yeah, no. Hang on. Remember I said I'm becoming a JavaScript therapist. Streamer is not defined in the instance. V4 streamer and streamers. Streamer and streamers. So this is weird. This is super weird. What am I doing wrong? Let's see why. It's not defined. Cannot read name. I wonder if these can't be anonymous. Let's just try like this, which is like insane. No, it doesn't like that either. So we have an array of objects. We're calling these streamers. We're iterating. Okay, let's just do this. Okay, so now this is the scientific method, right? So we're going to copy the data independent from Vue. Oh, did I really? No. Where? Here? Come on, man. Really? Okay. Anna, you just saved everyone at least 30 seconds of frustration. Yeah, that's crazy because, like, I wish JavaScript would just tell us, right? Like, I don't... Oh, no, it does tell us. I'm being arrogant. Sorry. Okay, let's try this now. All right. Oh, no. Oh, no. What happened? We have two data types. Yeah. So where's name? Why is name... Maybe we have to do this. This is just a Vue thing. I could be wrong. It's not working either. Okay, let's be clear. Let's be safe. So we're gonna go back to 1. That should be fine. Still get the same result. Drop this. So we're saying for each streamer and streamers, give me the streamer's emoji. Oh, guys, I did this before too. Sorry. This is that weird error. Yeah. So that's why. I bet there's another way to do that. That works too. Yeah. Dude, Anna, you just like, you're just killing it right now. You are killing it. Okay, so we can even do this because it's just white space. The browser will ignore the white space. Okay, so think about this, right? Instead of copying and pasting and then this not being dynamic, this has become fully dynamic, independent from the data. So imagine, this is why it's interesting. Imagine streamers was not data that we just put here. Imagine we have a method, which is a fancy way of saying methods with an S. Imagine we have a method, which is a fancy way of saying a function attached to an object, and our object is the app. Inside of our methods, we could do like get streamers, right? And then like maybe I would like call some API, maybe using like Ajax or like Axios, or maybe even like fetch, but then I'd have to parse the data, which I don't know if fetch does that. But the point is, we could in theory just like make that a function and then iterate over the data, assuming that we have it as JSON, right? So the fact that it's local is not the point. The point is that we can, like, this isn't a web crawler, but it's actually much closer. We only need like a couple of lines of code and an API to actually make this a web crawler. Yeah. We need, we should just like rename this whole thing to like JavaScript therapy. And then there's like multiple therapists. I think that's a wonderful idea. Okay, let's see what happens. It still doesn't like that. For streamer and streamers, oh no. Okay, let's see if we can find out why. Okay, Anna, we're gonna need your expertise here. It's saying 57 is an issue. Is this because Oh, sorry, missing this. This comma will break everything. So that thereby idea is cool. No, I mean, actually, that's an interesting idea. To say like these are the 10 worst JavaScript bugs, which there are like tons of Medium articles about this, but making it a video because you can just take it with you. But like, yeah, like if you're learning JavaScript for the first time, which a lot of people are as their first language, the significance of a comma here or not might be the reason you quit. I mean, which is unfortunate, but I think it's a fact that happens. Okay, so now we should be good, right? Cool. So now our data is completely flexible, which is a big deal, right? So it would be really nice if we could have like a function, like wouldn't it be nice if we had like a input right here, and I could type into the input, and I could be like give me a person whose name has the letter I in it, or give me a person whose name has Chu in it, right? Then I'm filtering the data based on my query. So this is sort of like a search bar, right? The difference is the data is local, but if we're streaming the data, if we're getting the data online, then this is a search bar or search field. Yeah, there's just like a handful of errors. Okay, so now we're ready to start thinking about methods, because the action will be a method. It won't be just like static data. So first, let's create an input. That's going to take place right above the UL. If you guys have questions, you can always ask. We'll just put like input, and there's our input, right? And then style. Okay. Oh, no, margin. So I just want like the margin bottom. I don't care about anything else. Yeah. And actually, let's make a class to make this easier. Let's like make a class called like field or whatever, and then the class, anything that's a field will be fluid, so it'll try to occupy the full width. So we'll say like field. This is related to, so in INI, this is very relevant for you because you were working on this in Bulma, but this is how you would do this in just CSS normally. So anything that is a field, we want it to be fluid. So we can say, give me a width of 100%. And so that goes across, and then we can style the field additionally by just adding some stuff here. So right, this is just size, and then here we're going to do some imperative CSS because, well, it's not really imperative. Let's say anything like that, give it a margin of 1 rem. Let's give it a border radius. Let's do like 2 pixels. No, let's do 0.25 rem. And then let's do padding. So we want it to be bigger. And then, is that outline? Where's that coming from? I think it's border. Yeah, I don't want that. Okay, but I do want to change the color. So let's make the background white. I'm going to grab some colors from here, these ones. So this is some CSS variables real quick. If you are curious about CSS variables, we're going to do that right now. So I have my variables defined everywhere because they're in my root. And then I just want to make my entire application have a color. So I'll just go here and just say like background, whoops, far, let's do like Twitter blue. Okay, cool. And then now we can do something interesting. Let's just make all of this appear as a field. Yeah, and then like let's make this light blue. So light blue like that. Okay, that looks good. And then anything that's a field, we should have it look like this. So all we need to do is add a class somewhere here. I'll put it after. I'll put it first. That's fine. Okay, so each one of these is a field. Okay, cool. Which is interesting because now we don't need the. It's not both of these, right? Okay, so we want a very small. Okay, let's make these half. And then these are relevant. And then these are. So let's do this. So this is more of a CSS reset. So I'm just going to put this here. And then we'll say border. So anything that's a reset, I'm going to put it at the top. And then this is generic stuff. And then this is custom. So this is, it's called space, background, border radius. This is just how I write my CSS. Just for whatever reason, it's easier for me. Okay, so let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's actually kind of nice. I like where this is going. We'll make this green. So yeah, we're using the CSS variables here. Okay, so that looks kind of nice. Is that the same? Okay, so this is with the debugger turned on. So okay, so now it doesn't matter if our website is full screen or not because, sorry, full height, because it's bigger. And so now we don't care because our content's going to be bigger than the available height. So that's fine. We can just get rid of that. So here's our website. Looks very cute. And the only thing I'm wondering is why does our search bar look a little bit smaller, right? So like let's say I just want to look at one. I'm going to comment out this data. Put this here. Okay, so now we just have Anna. And if I... Is everything... Oh, this isn't a list item, so maybe this has a different style. All right, let's just figure out why. Right? Because these are both fields, so this okay, let me just check, sorry. I wonder why these aren't the same. So the box model for input says that it has 8 padding and 13 height. And then if we go to Anna, it says Anna has 8 but 26. So this, for whatever reason, has more height. Which doesn't matter. I just want to make sure we know why. Okay. Okay, I think we'll just leave that alone. Okay, so let's put the data back. And then what we can do is we'll use input and we'll put a placeholder. So placeholder will just show us some text. So like, we'll put like smiley face as an emoji, and then I'll put name here. So say like name please. Okay, so here is our website, and I broke something because of that comma. Okay, so now this is kind of nice. I don't really know why the height's different, to be honest. It's kind of bugging me, right? Because that's there. Is that? Nope. Class field. Oh, I bet you this is inline. Okay, let's do this. So I bet you these are not block elements. Let's find out. Okay, clearly it has nothing to do with that. All right, we'll just leave that alone. Okay, so now when I type something, it'd be really cool if this thing updates. That'd be sort of magical, right? So let's talk about what's called vModel. Let me type it in here. So far, we are just working with this expression to represent inserting some data from our Vue application into our website. This is called one-way data binding because the data is coming from here and we're binding it over here. But we can't like update this and then have this come down here, which would be called two-way binding, right? So one-way binding is like driving on a one-way street But if we're over here and we want to go back down here, if I want to like type in some data for the field here, like that, right? I want to sort of save that in memory. So we're going to use what's called vModel. So let's just let's keep everything except this. We'll comment it out. So now we're back to here. And okay, so I just want to do the, seriously, programming with the scientific method is much easier than just going crazy. Okay, so let's say we have an input class field. Okay, that looks good. Now I want to have some data. I need a place to save the text that I type. So as I type data into here, I want to actually store that in my application's data somewhere. So let's make a placeholder for this. So we'll say we'll make query, and we're going to make it an empty string. I believe we could just I think we could do that, or even say undefined, because JavaScript is a type, it's a typeless language. It doesn't really care what the type is. But to make it more semantic, we're gonna just say, hey, I'm expecting this to be string, and that'll be much easier for us or someone else to look at our code. Okay, so here we want to make a connection. We want to basically say this text needs to be saved into query, right? So now what we can do is a directive called vModel, and then we can say, okay, I want to connect this to query. Let's try that. Now, the thing is, unless I use a debugger, I won't know if that worked or not. So I need a way to, determine if this is working. I could use the debugger, but I'd rather use first principles here. So what if we had just a span class query, field, and then inside of our span, we display the content of the query, right? That would be like that. So does that work? All right, it looks terrible. Let's make that a div, or paragraph should be fine, because that's also, okay, so if I type, that's pretty interesting, right? So now we have a two-way binding. We're saving the stuff in our data, but we can also update it. And anytime we type the text here, it's also updating the value inside of query. So this is what the whole virtual DOM is about. If I'm using jQuery, it's assumed that the data of my website is my HTML. But if I'm using React or any of these frameworks, I'm not making that assumption. I'm saying my data is completely separate from my website. In fact, you could have my data in a different server, not on the same computer. And this just makes it much more intuitive, because you don't have to make so many compromises. Okay, so now we have two-way binding, we have our query, and if we type something, we get a result. So what I would like is, I'm kind of making this up, so I don't know if this will work, but what I would like is, as I'm typing my query, for a function to be called, which would change the result of streamers. So streamers is probably going to be a function, but that's it's a bit to do all at the same time. So let's do this. Let's make vModel. Yeah, right. So here's the thing. Golang, the language I keep talking about, is really powerful. And Golang allows you to write functions that run at the same time. So that's called concurrency. If you combine the power of Golang with the sort of ease of Vue, you really can make one-person search engines. Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to and we have time, I'd be happy to see how far we can take this. It's already been an hour, which is surprising. So now nothing happens, but let's do this. Let's just put a list item. How's the pace, guys? Do you need me to speed up or slow down, or just wondering? This is a good pace for me, because I'm sort of making this up, so. Okay, so now we have a two-way binding. Let's make a function that's do something. I know that Nick likes to spell something like that. So let's make sure that we know what we're doing first. So now we're going to make a method Speed is good. Okay, great, guys. So I've screwed this up so many times. I have typed method instead of methods, and it is really embarrassing when that is the issue at hand. So we're not going to make that mistake. So I'm going to have a function. Let's just like do like a console log. So like do something. When we call do something, which is right, where's do something? Right here. I want to just like log, like let's do console log, and then I want to put the data. So let's like log query, right? Let's basically capture the state of the application. So see what happened? Nothing is shown. That means that we broke something so badly that Vue is actually punishing us by not displaying. Oh, that's not an issue, but by not displaying our application. So that's not a bad thing, because it's like this is what happens if you compile a static language. Go will not compile if you have an error, which in the long term is better. It's saying, hey, query doesn't. Oh, good. It's saying, hey, yo, I don't know what query is. I don't know what that means. The thing is, query's here, right? Query's over here. So and like we know we can put query here. So like, what is the problem? It's actually JavaScript, obviously. So if we want to refer to this instances or this object, I don't know what this thing is called, this thing, right? If we want to refer to our app's query, we need to do this. Which means, let me just point something out. If I go into here, like let's say like the value, oh cool, it's working. Look at that. So we have a keylogger. That was fast. So right, we just say like we can say like, yo, I'm about to steal your password and hack your shit, right? Basically, every time we type, we're calling do something. And the reason it wasn't working is because query is bound to our app, which means I can actually go into the debugger and I can say this, no. I can say, so we have like app, our app is in memory, so I can just access our app. I can say like app query, which is why I need this, because this is effectively substituting app for whatever it's inside of. If I'm referring to query like this, JavaScript assumes that I'm referring to query as a global variable, which I'm not, which is why it's complaining. Now the thing is, Vue is user-friendly, which is why there's any confusion here, right? Vue is assuming that we understand we're inside of our app, so we don't need to say this everywhere because we're already inside of the data. So Vue is helping us out, which is nice, except that it might create some confusion somewhere else. Now I'm personally interested to find out, can we say this instead? I don't know if that will work. No. Okay, so we need to be careful about that. Okay, so we're going to call do something, which is going to do console log, and that's fine. So now we need to do something meaningful. When we type, we're calling a function, I think, that's interesting. Every time we type do something is getting called. It's sort of surprising. Why would it be every time? Let's do something. Oh, because it's touching the list. I bet if I won't bet you, but I think if I put this here in a paragraph, I'm curious to see if that only works once, because that's the behavior I'm expecting. Okay, that clearly isn't doing it. So we're calling it. Oh, you know why? I think it's because this query is changing. Because if this changes, I'm just guessing, I think Vue is saying, hey, something's changing, let me do something. So we named our function appropriately. Okay, so let's be like really careful here. Like, let's start simple. So I'm gonna make a method called streamers. And I just want to return this streamers. So let's see if I can reuse the same names, which might not be a good idea. Okay, so no, I can't. It's not recognizing it. So we'll say like, we'll just like make this a getter. So like get streamers, return this streamers, and then this needs to change too. So get streamers. Okay, so that's fine. And then let's make sure that, like, let's add that console line. So we'll do like console log, and we want to do this before the return because otherwise we've already exited this function. So we can do get streamers console log this query. Okay, now I won't, I could probably use an alert. Might get annoying. Let's do like alert this query. Here we go, guys. Okay, it's working, it's just super annoying. Okay, but this is good because we've substituted our data for a function and we can prove that our function can do more than just return something, which means all we need to do is manipulate which streamers we're returning based on the query. So I don't know JavaScript too well, but I think we can say like, if something contains this thing, then we want to return like an array with just those things. So we can say like, okay, let's do like naked JavaScript. So I can say like, I can do like var out, or do like var return, and I want this to be an array. Okay, let's do first principles here. Okay, so I want to make a placeholder to store the data before we return it. So I can say like var array, and then does that work? No. So does that works. Okay, so step one is we need to have a placeholder. So do var return, ret is short for return, is equal to an empty array. So now we can store the data somewhere. If I want to update this array that we have, I believe I can do like push hello world. Okay, and then if I say what's the value of array, it's hello world, which is good because now we have a placeholder and we have a way to update the contents of our placeholder. So then we just need some sort of loop to go through them and then like append based on if it's a match, right? So I can do push. Okay, so let's copy this data. Again, we're using first principles, and we're going to say var streamers equals. If you guys have questions, go ahead. Oops. Okay, so we have all of our streamers in an array, and we know that this is good. So we don't really need to test this. Okay, so that's good. We put that in memory. Okay, that's fine. And then we'll say for something. Let me put this in the center of the screen. Nah, that's fine. No. I'm just going to type it here. We want to say like for each of the items, I'm just going to do pseudocode, right? So for each item, do like for streamer in streamers, what do I want to do? So I have like var array is empty. If something is true, then I want to take my array and I do like array push streamer because I want the whole thing, not just one of the values. Okay, then I do array push streamer and then put like that so it doesn't complain. And then we just say return array, right? I think this is basically what we need to do. So let's make sure we can iterate over our streamers without sort of any weird side effects. So I have our streamers, and I'm going to say for streamer of streamers, and then I'll do console log, and then we'll just do like streamer emoji. We don't need the whole thing. Okay, so that's fine. Let's check if I can do for in, because I don't know. That's not, because I think that's giving us like an index or something. So we're going to do for of, and we need to be careful because other languages use different words to describe the same thing. So basically like that's better. Okay, so like this is good. This is good. We need to say, does streamer contain the query, right? So query is already initialized to like something, let's say like hello. And then it would say like if query. So we need to like contains, right? So like JavaScript actually we'll just wing it. Can I say hello contains, whoops, LL? Does that work? Then this should give us a Boolean, right? It's saying, hey, that doesn't exist. So like maybe I do string contain, I don't know. Let's do string contains JavaScript. Includes. Oh, that's annoying. That makes sense though. So we can't use in, we have to use of, and we can't use contains, we have to use includes. So do include, yeah, so that exists, but then contain doesn't exist. So that's really good to know. So includes LL. That's true. And then just to double check, if I say goodbye, that's false. Okay, so now we know what our logic will work like. We can just say if streamer includes, this is pretty semantic. If streamer includes, this is a function. It's a function, right? So it's a query. Then we're going to push streamer to the end of, right? And then, okay, cool. I think this is fine. Now we just need to be careful about calling this function too much. So let's go down here, and then get streamers is bad. We want to do like query streamers, right? That's what we're really doing. And then we can put our logic in here, put that there. Then, oh, we need to be careful about this, right? So this is funny because this needs this, but then this doesn't. And then, okay, that's fine. Let's just check if that renders. By the way, this is like a lot nicer than programming in isolation, just for what it's worth. Okay, so the whole app is basically saying no, but why? Oh, because we renamed get to query. Like I keep renaming the Slack channel. Okay, streamer's not defined. So it's something down here. For streamer of this streamers. So is it complaining about? It's complaining about view. I think it's complaining about this because that's where we, like if I change this to like test, does that also complain? Yeah, so there's something wrong with, maybe you have to say var? Okay, so now it's saying this. Okay, so sorry, they had to do that. And do we need this? Okay, so we need var streamer of streamers. If streamer includes this query, then push the streamer and then return that. So the streamer includes is not a function because this is not a string. So we need to match against streamer's name, I think, because I wonder why we didn't get that issue before. Oh, because we were using a string, we weren't using an object. So if streamer's name includes this query, then push the streamer to the end. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, we don't have any warnings, which is a freaking miracle. Sorry. And then, I don't know, is this going to work? Okay, oh, cool. So why are we not getting, that's interesting. Zadek? Hang on, let me get rid of the placeholder. It's kind of annoying. Okay, so we get something. And if I say, these are so, wait, CH is in Mochi, right? So if I say Z, but I don't get Zadek. What? Oh, is it case sensitive? No. It is. So I can either use regex or I can do, like I need to do like a string includes case and sensitive. Sensitive. This is totally group therapy right now. Yeah. String match? Yeah, this is recommending two. Okay, that's interesting. Instead of using regex, we can just force a string to be lowercase. I'm a little shy to use regex here because I don't think we need it yet. The two lowercase thing makes sense. Okay, so let's go back into, let's go to here. It's time for the scientific method. And then we're gonna do like hello, which is how I feel all the time. And then somebody's like, no, you need to like relax a bit, right? You need to just like sit down. Then we're gonna do two lowercase. Okay, so that's fine, but I'm wondering if emoji will give us any sort of error. It shouldn't, because yeah, I don't think there's any. Okay, so two lowercase is fine. So that's very simple. But now this is sort of getting ugly, to be honest. So let's do. Oh, so Nick asked, what is the scientific method? I'll do my best to explain, and then Anna can yell at me. Sorry. The scientific method is how science is approached. So, like, if I want to test something, I need to know what I'm expecting, and then measure what happens, and to be very careful and clear that I'm not sort of corrupting the process. So, like, sort of arbitrary, right? Like, I just need to make sure that I understand like perfectly that the thing that I'm doing is repeatable, that this didn't just like work once, that this is true. So for example, before I put anything into my Vue app, I'm double checking that this JavaScript is correct. So I'm being very scientific about it. I'm proving that something works and it's repeatable before I just assume it and then possibly break something else. Okay, so it would be nice if instead of like doing all this logic in here, I could just like do something here. So like what I'm wondering is if I do streamer name equals streamer name to lowercase, we need to figure out, is this a value or a reference? If this is a reference, then we are permanently changing the value of the string to be lowercase, which means it's like a pointer, right? It's the same data. If it's a value, that means this is a copy. And if it's a copy, then it's fine. We're just making a copy of streamer name, lowercasing it. But then we have a problem here, right? So we need to have a temporary variable. It's like let's test it. I'm pretty sure this isn't going to be ideal. So, good Lord. So it's saying two lowercase. I think this needs to be capital. Yeah, okay. So now I can say, oh, so we have a problem. We're permanently updating the value of name because this is what's called a reference. We're referring to the name and then permanently updating it, which is bad. We want to create a temporary variable. So I can do like var name. Whoops, var name would be much cleaner. I can say var name is equal to this expression, and then I'm just checking this, checking my name, and then I can just push the streamer because now we're not mutating anything. So that should be fine. So yeah, so that's good. And if I type, the hope is that nothing will be lowercased. Yeah. So wait a minute. Shoot. And it worked the first time and then it broke. But this is getting closer, right? Because like, that's working. But if I do what, cap? So, whoa, capital doesn't work. I think I need to lowercase my query. Yeah, because we need to basically sanitize the query and the name. So, okay, so regex kind of does make sense here. I think it's every time the function's called, we don't want to permanently mutate query, so let's make another temporary one and then only do that one. So we say var query equals this query lowercase. And then because it's going to get hard to differentiate them from each other, let's just like put a hint. It's like I can put L. Nah, just leave it for now. Hey, if you guys have questions, let me know. Let me zoom in on the code. So we're making a placeholder to store the data. Let's do matches. That is much more semantic. So we have our matches. There's probably like a function that will do all of this. I just don't know what it is. Yeah, so like this is imperative. I'm concerned with how we do it. If there's a function in a standard library, then it's functional because we don't care about how it works, which like might be better because it might be more efficient. But this is fine because we want to understand what we're doing. So we're initializing query to be lowercase. So okay, this is called we're sanitizing it, and we're sanitizing here. And then I think this will work. Nick says that people that use JavaScript should have a scientific degree. Yeah. Like, it is fascinating how much time has been wasted on like dealing with JavaScript. Okay, so like let's try. Holy cow, what? So this is an issue. Capital A isn't matching anything. So let's do this. Let's do a debug, because every time we're going to do console log, and we're going to say give me the value of query and give me the value of I want this query and I want matches. Okay, so every time we call this function, we're going to do this expensive operation to double check the state. I am getting a match. So there's something specifically weird about capitals. And let's do this. I want to double check that I'm not mutating the data. So we're going to say like this plus space space plus versus, and that will make sure I'm not, like I want A to always be, oops. Yeah, so we're not mutating A. Okay, so I don't need this anymore. Okay, and I refresh this and I do like hello, but capital, so capitals are a problem for us. So we lowercase the query, check. Oh, guys, so simple. We need to check it against the sanitized query, not the raw query. So I'm sure that's the problem. Right, so so we basically sanitize, and then everything else needs to be unchanged. Okay, this should be fine. I wonder if this would be better here. It's kind of ugly. Okay, but it's pretty readable now. Okay, I am willing to bet that this will work. Capital A, lowercase a, Anna. So this is amazing, right? Like, this is really cool. We've created a local search engine, which I think is pretty neat. Now, it might be nice if we don't show any data, and we only show data if we type something. Yeah, this is really cool. So, like, let's do, what I think I want to do is this. We said that we would take a break. Okay, it's been an hour and a half. Are you guys tired? Like, because I could go for another hour and a half. I just wanted to, like an hour. I just want to take a break for about 15 minutes. Is that okay with you guys? Let me know. By the way, there's like a 15-second delay between us because I'm in Thailand. If I were somewhere else, I think it might be faster. Cool. Okay. I'm really grateful that you guys are this patient. So this will be part one of the video that we put on YouTube, which is great. And then It's okay. So the current time is 38 past. We can make it simple and just say let's come back at the start of the next hour. So that's like a 20-minute break. And then let's just talk about what we'll do, right? So let's add, when we come back, we're going to add some like conditional logic. So we've used for loops, but we use some conditional logic to only show the results if we have at least one character typed, right? And then after that, it would be, I mean, unless you guys have anything about this that you want to change, then I want to try something much more complicated, which is like, instead of just searching for the name, I want to search for other parameters. So like, let's say like each person has hobbies. I want to search against the hobbies or the person or like even a number, because the whole point of this is to create like a much better search engine for movies or TV shows or whatever. And instead of searching like the rating or like the box office performance, I want to search for like actors, I want to search for directors. So we have to think about how do we do this, but I think we know enough to do that. And that's a big deal because, think about this, if we just like plug this into an API, you have made like a web crawler search engine thing, and look at the code. I think this is pretty readable. The data is separated, the logic is separated. This is updating on the fly. We're not doing a post request. Even if we are, we don't have to like refresh the page. Everything is just live and in the browser, and this is the extent to our HTML. So and like the really cool thing is, when we're finally done with this whole thing, we could use Vue to make this a component and then just drop this on multiple pages. So we don't have to copy and paste the data. We can just refer to my component. Now, we won't do that today. I think I'll do that in the next one. But the point of a component is to break this entire thing into an element. So like, let's just say I did like search bar, all right? And I can put like any parameters that this might take as attributes. I think as attributes. But the point is, once you understand what you're working on and it works and it's documented, you can just drag and you can just drop this into anywhere on your website, and you've added all this functionality for free. And you can also parameterize it, so you can say like, you can basically make it more custom than that. But this is where the web is going. This is called a custom like element or component. This is a big deal because I've abstracted all of the logic. This is no longer imperative. This has become 100% functional, and like this is just like really amazing. So I really like this sort of approach to web design. It's very intuitive. So let's take a break, and I'll put this on CodePen and put that in the comment right now. So you guys, if you want to, can experiment, improve it, change it, whatever. So I'll just do that real quick, and then we'll take like 20. We'll take 20, yeah. Dude, thank you all for doing this with me. This is a lot more fun in this format. I don't know my password. Or I can make a gist actually. I think that might be better. gist.github.com. I cleared my browser earlier, so I'm not logged into anything, which is sort of annoying. Yeah, gist is fine. Okay, so here we go. Oh, that is a very, very, very good point. Okay, so you're all familiar with GitHub. GitHub, well, maybe you're not. GitHub is it's a company that creates, how would you describe it? It puts code online, and it also, like, here's my friend, and I can see like the thing he's building, and I can also see all the versions of the thing he's building with the comments. Now the thing is, this for me is way too much information. All I care about is this, which is just interesting. So the point is, GitHub allows you to put your code online and version it. Gist is actually like gist. It's like, gist is a word. It's like, what's the gist, right? So I think, I don't know, people pronounce it however they want, but a gist or a gist, gist? I don't know. is a way to just put some code online without having a like fancy repository. So this is much more simple. So I can say like search.html. All the dependencies are inside of here. We don't have to load anything else locally, so this is completely fine. And I'll just put this in the YouTube. Okay, so that was all I needed to do to put this on the internet. Then you can copy and paste it, or you can go to raw, and then this is probably better, just because I can't figure out CodePen right now. So let me put that in here, and there we go. Okay, do you guys have any final questions before we wrap up and then come back in 15-20 minutes? Seems like we're good. Anyway, hit me up on Twitter or Slack if you do have questions. And then otherwise, yeah, 20 minutes. Okay, I'll see you guys then. Thank you for doing this with me. All right, stream's turning off, but we'll be back soon.